Good morning, everyone. This is Manish Agnihotri, Company Secretary of Gujarat Pipavav Port Limited. I'm joined with Mr. Girish Agrawal, Managing Director, and Mr. Santosh Bhatt, CFO. We will start with the remarks from Girish, and then it will be followed with comments from Santosh on the financials, and then we'll be open for the Q&A. Okay, Girish.
Good afternoon, everyone. GPPL delivered another strong quarter. Very quick highlights of the quarter. Our revenue increased year on year by 7 percentage points. Our absolute EBITDA was higher by 21%. Operating margin improved by 800 basis points to 63%. Our EBIT improved by 25%. Our net profit, however, declined by 18%, but that was because of a one-off approximately 52 crore provision that we took again for the adverse judgment that we received in old IOCL matter. Else, it would have been a 42% improvement on our net profits as well. On this judgment, we are now taking legal advice for the next course of action, basis which we will decide, what to do. But to be prudent, we took the entire amount as a provision. Quick highlights for the entire financial year: our revenue was higher by 8%. Our net profit was higher by 21%. Without the provisions, it would have been higher by 38%. Our EBIT was higher by 19%, EBITDA higher by 14%, and margins improved by 300 basis points year on year. On an annual basis, our container volumes grew by 6% to 808,000 TEUs. Our liquid grew by 24%, and RoRo grew by 141%. The board has recommended a final dividend of rupees 3.7 per share for the financial year 23-24. Thank you, Santosh.
So I think all the key numbers have been covered. So let's open the floor for questions.
Okay. The floor is open for questions. Okay, please go ahead with your question.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, hi. So, can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I'm audible. Yeah, sir. Thanks for the opportunity, sir. My first question is on the, can you just talk about the container outlook for this fiscal? Last year was pretty muted. How do you think about the next fiscal? And I think the other terminals have done better. India has gone at a better rate last year. But I think our volumes are muted, right? And how do you see the impact of the Red Sea going forward?
So your question was a little unclear, Mohit, but are you asking the outlook for container market?
I'm asking about the outlook for the container market and also the impact of the Red Sea. If you're seeing, is it abating now?
Yeah. So in terms of the container market, you're right, and we kind of talked about it in the last analyst call as well, where we did see an impact on our performance. We've seen this quarter our container volumes grew by 5%, but predominantly it was the westbound trade because of the Red Sea impact. As we move forward in the year, we are still seeing challenges because of the Red Sea, at least from our perspective. Essentially, the transit times, the longer transit times have resulted in shipping line changing their network and redeploying our vessels. We are seeing increased skips from various services, this quarter, potentially continuing over the next quarter simply because of the tonnage constraint that we see in the shipping lines. Difficult to overall quantify the impact. We believe that as we move forward, this will ease out, and we would see again potential growth in the container business.
Understood. My second question on the LPG terminal, can you just please update the status when we expect this capacity to get commissioned, and what is your expectation of capacity ramp up as you go forward?
So the expected commissioning on the liquid jetty is roughly Q3 of next year. So essentially between October and December 25. That's how we see the timeline in terms of commissioning. It's a 3.2 million metric ton jetty. In terms of capacity, it will completely come on board immediately. Then we will see how we'll work on the growth in terms of volumes. But that entire jetty will be ready by between October and December 2025.
Is it fair to say that all the evacuation pipelines, everything is ready and there is no hurdle on that front?
Yes.
Understood. My last question is on the RoRo. So the RoRo numbers have moved up sharply. How do you charge? So can you just give us a color on the tariff which you tariff for the RoRo?
So we have,
I don't know what you mean by that, but these are, I mean, if we have customer contracts, we don't really share our tariffs with our customers.
Broad numbers of per RoRo, how much you charge roughly per number broadly?
no, so basically we have special contracts, right? And then the marine services.
So I think broad numbers would practically give out the customer commercials. So we can't share that.
Understood, sir. Thank you and all the best, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohit. Deepak Maurya, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Are you able to hear me, please?
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for taking my questions. I had a couple of questions. Firstly, on the operating expenses, there seems to be a significant decline during the fourth quarter. Could you probably provide some color on what drove this decline, and is it kind of sustainable? And secondly, if you could also speak about the dry bulk volumes, which are down 31%. In the previous call, we discussed, you mentioned that coal is something which you have, for the time being at least, consciously decided not to take in or handle. May I know what is the current status on that?
Yeah. So I think both the questions are related. One on the dry bulk volume, the drop is mainly driven by the lower import of fertilizers. So there has been overall lower imports, which in the country for fertilizer. So that's also reflecting in our numbers. Coal, as rightly pointed, is still not been handled. So we'll have to wait for some quarters finally, basis which we decide when to start that. With some permission been awaited. On the operating cost, the main driver for lower operating cost is dry bulk volumes. So the handling cost for dry bulk has been lower in line with the volume. So that's the main driver.
Okay, may I just clarify on the coal part? You mentioned about some permissions. Could you please provide more context as to what is it that is holding you back from handling the coal volumes?
We've made a conscious decision last year not to handle coal because of certain operational reasons. We will continue not to handle coal at least for this quarter as well as next quarter, and then we'll come back to say that we intend to handle that coal.
Okay, that is clear. And on the previous caller's question on the container outlook, you mentioned that shipping lines are skipping port calls to GPPV because of the Red Sea disruptions and the erratic transit times which are there. Now,
Yeah.
so where are the volumes being handled? I mean, I'm sure there are container cargoes which have to be loaded and offloaded from your hinterland. But if those volumes are not being evacuated or delivered via the services which come to your port, is it basically meaning that those volumes are not being handled or delayed?
No, it's not delayed or not being handled. You are absolutely right. So essentially what's happening is, because of the increased transit time, as well as we've seen situations of weather-led disruptions in China, Singapore, or Dubai. So a lot of shipping lines kind of do a transshipment potentially at Colombo and then move out. And then there's a feeder which brings in the import cargo either from Colombo or from other transshipment ports, so that the mainliners continue on their path and catch up from their time. So that's why the large skip calls. What is also, of course, that means is the export cargo fundamentally up north can get shifted from Pipavav to Mundra, which we've seen has happened to some extent. A lot of ICD cargo still continues to come to us. But in general, that's one reason of the decline of container cargo by 5% this year. The other is that we lost a transshipment service, which was a Maersk Jade service, which was a transshipment product, which they kind of cancelled, and they changed their network, and hence that volume also doesn't come to us and doesn't go to anybody because it was a transshipment product.
Okay, this is very clear. Thank you so much. I'll fall back in the queue.
Thank you, Deepak. Achal, please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, team. Thank you for the opportunity. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sir, if you could help us with the realization for the quarter and for the full year for container and the bulk.
Yeah, so for container, the realization is in the range of around 8,000 to 8,600 per TEU. And for full year, it is 7,500 to 8,400. For dry bulk, it is in the range of 450 to 700 for the quarter and as well as for the year.
Okay, so, with respect to the tariff hike, what you had rolled out from 1st of January, has it been fully reflected, or, still few of the customers are yet to accept the increase?
So there are few customers which are yet to increase. That will happen gradually.
So is it fair? I mean, if I remember the number right, what is the increase in the blended realization on that count? To about 3%?
Yeah, it should be in the range of around 3%. You're right.
Understood. The second question I had, is what is the growth in terms of EXIM and for the quarter and for the full year for us?
Actually, we don't really split between the cargo mix, so I'm not able to share a specific number on the growth of EXIM and others.
Any ballpark number like high single
No, but in
digit,
general,
single digit?
as we said, the transshipment has reduced, the EXIM is increased, transshipment is reduced because we lost the Jade service.
Okay, understood. Possible to get some sense with respect to the market share, how it has evolved over the last 3, 4, 5 years? Have we seen a loss of market share, or we have just maintained the market share?
Broadly maintained the market share of the last 3, 4, 5 years.
Okay, understood. Any outlook on the margin part, with respect to how things are shaping up with respect to product, the different segments?
We believe that this financial year, we will at least expand our margins, EBITDA margins by at least 200 basis points. EBIT should be expanded by at least around 7 percentage points.
Understood. And just one more question, pertaining to the development of the DMIC DC, near the port. What is the status now? How soon do we expect it to kind of start generating cargo for us, given we are the closest port for that?
You said what?
For the Dholera, region, we hear a lot of announcements being made with respect to newer capacities, newer manufacturing setup there. So, in terms of your expectation, how soon can it start contributing to our numbers?
So, Dholera, very clearly, we are the port of choice. I think there are some announcements that have been made. I have a feeling that at least in this coming financial year, there'll be no additions from Dholera. I do expect, however, as we start to move towards FY26, we will start to see some benefits flowing in.
Understood. Sir, one more question, if I may, with respect to the container, while obviously you have highlighted the skipped calls and the impact of that, but in general, are you seeing any signs of pickup with respect to import or export side, or things remain as they were during the quarter?
Things are in general, as they were in the quarter. However, there are certain clearly positives which are around our Middle East trade. Middle East trade is strong, continues to be strong and is growing. In terms of Europe, we believe it is not strong. Also, US has been resilient. I think the inventories post the Red Sea conflict, I think people have started building their US market. So US market has not declined as was expected, but has been resilient. So we believe that that will continue to be that. In terms of our Far East and Southeast market, that continues to be steady.
And would it be possible to get a mix? What would be that mix? Middle East, Europe, US, Far East for us?
We don't really share those numbers, but we have a service, MERS service for Middle East. We have a MERS service for US and several services for Far East. But I don't know if we have that mix at this stage.
So,
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes, please. Yeah.
So most of the service are Far East oriented, right? So of course we are almost 50 to 60% on the Far East side.
Understood. And just last question, sorry, I'm saying last again, once again, but in terms of the services, I presume that most of the carriers are calling Pipavav port in some or the other fashion. Is that a right understanding, or there are certain liners which are yet to work with us at this port?
MSC doesn't work with us at this point in time.
Okay. The rest all are there. Okay.
Yeah. All the large ones.
Understood. Thank you so much and wish you all the best.
Thank you. Priyanka, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, sir. My first question is regarding the IOCL issue that you were speaking about. So first thing, for FY24, can you give me the split of the exceptional items? So essentially for the full year, how much was due to this IOCL and what was due to the, let's say, the cyclone repairs? And parallelly, again, harping back on that IOCL rail issue. So it seems like the verdict came in May, if I read from the notes to accounts. So is there some follow-on, let's say, exceptional expenses that can be booked in FY25, and what will be its quantum?
So Priyanka, as Girish mentioned, about 3 crores is towards that legal case, and the rest is balance is towards the cyclone recovery and cost. There's one. We have taken all the required provisions already in the books. As Girish mentioned, we are looking at option. We are taking legal opinions. So if at all something comes up in subsequent quarter, it should be an upside.
So it is completely booked. So nothing more would be taken at least on this issue in FY25.
That's right.
Okay. Then my second point is, so regarding like this particular year, compared to the previous years, the dividend payout seems to be slightly on the lower side. So what's your commentary on the dividend payout, given that probably we may be entering into a capex intense phase, like $90 million capex that you are saying on the liquid berth, and then maybe later on other capexes of expansion. So what should be the broadly the dividend payout ranges that one can expect?
Why do you say it is on the lower side?
So this time for the full year, it's 3.7, right?
3.7 is the final. There was an interim dividend of 3.6.
Okay. So sorry, I didn't exactly notice that. So, but coming to the part here that on the later part. So, for example, like you are going into a relatively like the capex would still be there, like $90 million. Bulk of it would be in FY 26 and some bit in FY 25. So would the dividend payout still remain at these high levels?
We cannot comment on what will be the dividend level as we move forward. Our policy, however, has been that we kind of give out 100% of our net profits as dividend to our shareholders. That policy, at least in the near future, we don't expect to change. The 100 million is already provided. I mean, we will do it from our cash reserves and internal accruals. We believe that's easy to do. At least as I see it, our cash balances, cash reserves are in excess of $100 million. So we don't expect any impact of dividend payout in the near term. On because of the liquid jetty expansion.
Okay. And just on the liquid jetty, since we came on that, and this 4Q, the volumes were quite strong, like almost 0.38, 0.39 million tons in the fourth quarter. So is this quarterly run rate sustainable for FY 25? So like in FY 25, can we be potentially be seeing a volume closer to, let's say, on an overall year, like 1.6 million tons at this run rate?
No, I think what we should assume as as a full year volume would be in the range of 1.3 and 1.4 million metric tons. It's essentially because of the mix. At times when we get a mix which is higher on HSDs, the throughput is much higher at roughly 650 to 700 versus a LPG which is 250 to 300 versus things like bitumen, etc., which are some 100, right? So the run rate is also reflective of the mix that we got in this quarter. But overall, based on our assessment, our numbers will be more around the 1.4 million tons for this financial year.
This is just one more question. So what I heard from the container that you were telling that this transshipment service by Maersk Jet has been cancelled. So you don't have to give the exact figure, but what is the like, let's say, a percentage-wise volume impact because of that? In a broad range.
So it roughly was a 3,000 move, which is about 4,500 TEUs per month kind of a service.
Okay. Okay, sir. That's broadly from my side.
Okay, thank you, Priyankar. Vidisha.
Hello, am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yes, please.
Yes. All right. All right. Thank you so much for taking my question. My first question is that the concession for the port is is kind of succeeding at 2028. Do we have any updates on the renewal part?
We are in election season. I mean, my update remains as was last time. I think things have progressed in a very good manner. We do hope to hear the right things, but till the time it happens, we do not want to comment on anything. But there are no red flags. But there has no been further discussion in the recent past, just to say because of the election season.
All right. All right. So also the share of net profit of associates this time has dropped, especially in the quarter. Could you kind of outline why that would be?
The share of PRC.
Yeah, okay. This for the associate company, there are some cost allocations which were done by the railways. So arrears of the earlier period which have been charged during the quarter, and that's the reason for the drop.
All right, all right. And if I could, I just had about one or two more questions, if you don't mind.
No, we don't. Please carry on.
So what is the rail coefficient of all our cargo? Basically, how much do we use the road and rail services for our cargo? Like, if you could give me the split on that.
Roughly 65-35 rail road.
Okay, so rail is 65 and road is 35.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. Do we see any improvement in that in the near future? What is our outlook plan?
I think it's it's quite high, at least at this point in time. There could be marginal differences here and there, but a substantial change is not expected at this point in time. Typically, in fact, we've increased cars. We do. Last month we did 31 rakes, which means one rake, LNG rake of car carriers came to our port. Fertilizer continues to be, or most of the dry bulk continues to be transported by rail. Liquid LPG continues to be transported mostly now by rail. And on the container traffic, again, it would be roughly the same ratio, 65-35. So I think, and that's the ratio between our northern hinterland and our market volumes that we handle. So the local volumes mostly will continue to be handled.
Okay, and from what I understand, RoRo, you use mainly rail service, right?
No, not mainly, but we started using rakes. So one rake on average comes down to the port. So this is Suzuki transporting from up north directly into.
All right. And my last question would be: do you have any guidance for volumes or revenues, EBITDA, anything for the coming year?
Yeah, so I mean, my guidance we'll give for EBITDA margins. We believe we will improve our EBITDA margins by at least 200 basis points this financial year. Also, our absolute EBIT should go up by around 7%.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Siddharth Prakash.
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much. I just have one quick question. Could you give me like could you briefly explain how port charges may vary based on geographies? Like what would an Indian port charge be compared to something in Singapore or China?
I would not have that information, Siddharth. It just completely depends on many factors.
Right.
And
So there's
that information.
So there's no like I mean, there's no like general variation based on the country the port is in.
No, it's dependent on variety of factors.
Okay, fine. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Sai Siddharth.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir. Just wanted to get a clarification on why you're expecting a 7% increase on EBIT, wherein there's only 200 margin expansion for EBITDA that you're looking at.
I said at least 200 basis points expansion. Sai.
Right, got it. So how is this flowing through as a 7% improvement at EBIT?
No, but there's no point getting into a deep diving into this at least at this point in time. But overall, we believe we should be expanding our margins at least by 200 basis points and EBIT at least by 7% points. That's where we would like to stop in terms of guidance.
Understood, sir. So also, if you can.
So just to clarify, to the absolute EBIT number, right? We're not referring EBIT margins.
Yeah, we're looking at absolute EBIT when I said 7%.
Got it, sir. Also, just a clarification on realization that has been seen on the container side this year.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll just give that Mr. repeat. So the quarter, it has been in the range of around 8,000 to 8,600. And for the full year, it is in the range of around 7,500 to 8,400.
Got it. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Kunal Tokas.
Hello, I'm audible?
Yes, please.
Okay. Just two or three quick questions, sir. First, has there been any progress on the Gorakhpur-Kandla pipeline?
Yeah, so that continues, Kunal. We expect towards the end of the year line to be commissioned. At least that's what we are hearing at this point in time.
Have you worked out any numbers of how much potential it can have for us, or is it too early to say?
It's too early to say, Kunal, at this stage.
All right. And second question is, I think you may have answered this earlier, but given that you have seen no red flags over the concession part, what is your CapEx outlook?
CapEx outlook for
The future?
For the entire future, you're saying, Kunal?
I mean, there is the issue of the concession agreement, right?
So, I mean, in general,
about
sorry, you are aware that we signed an MOU with GMB during Vibrant Gujarat, which was about 3,200 crores. So that's our current outlook, if that helps.
all right. I think that is. And just the last question: how many shipping lines have we been able to add over the last 2 years?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Your voice is not very clear. Can you be a little louder?
What about now?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello? So
Yes, go ahead.
shipping lines. How many have we been able to add over the last 2 years?
How many have been doing what?
Shipping lines.
No, so there's no new service added in the last 3 months.
Last 2 years.
Last 2 years, which we have been giving an update every quarter, Kunal, in terms of additions.
All right. My mistake. Thank you. That was all.
Thank you. Deepak Maurya?
Yeah,
Please go ahead.
hi. Yeah, hi. I had one follow-up. I think Priyankar had asked about the breakup of the non-recurring or the one-off items. The line was not very clear for us to understand. If you could please repeat that. That's the first question.
So, Deepak, it's the exceptional item that breakup you want?
Yes, the
Yeah.
exceptional items breakups which you read
So
out
like-
a few minutes
Yeah.
ago
Exceptional
was not
items
very
include-
clear.
Okay, fair enough.
So the exceptional item include 52 crores towards the legal case where we had the adverse verdict, and the balance is towards the cyclone cost and recovery.
Okay, understood. Thank you on that. And the other thing which I wanted to understand, the EBITDA margin guidance which you've given for 200 at least 200 basis points improvement in fiscal year 25 versus fiscal year 24. Is this also being driven by the cargo mix because you are handling, you're not handling coal or the share of dry bulk will go down and therefore you're seeing an improvement? Or is it cost improvement?
Many factors. No, many factors. It is the growth that we expect in liquid and RoRo, plus slight decline on the dry bulk, as well as improvement of mix on our container side as well.
Yeah,
So
lower
it's-
transshipment.
So mix of many factors.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. That kind of clears it up. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Any follow-up questions from anyone? Mohit, Mr. Vipul Kumar. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So my question is regarding our investment in this liquid.
Not audible, Vipul.
Can you be a little louder, please?
Yeah, so what is the total investment planned in this liquid berth and what type of asset turn we can expect from that?
So, I mean, the announced capex was 90 million, roughly US$ 720 odd crores. That's the planned investment on the liquid jetty. What was your second question?
What type of asset turns we can expect from that investment?
So, of course, we could not put a number there, but certainly looking at our demand right now for the liquid business, we certainly expect the full utilization of capacity over a bit of time. But I think that's a growing business and that's why this investment.
No, I was asking about asset turns.
So we don't want to really comment right now with you on that.
Okay. So lastly, liquid berth carries EBITDA margin at the company average level, or Is it higher or lower?
You're really not audible to us, Vipul. Can you be at least a little louder?
So my question is, liquid EBITDA margin is comparable to company average, or are they higher or lower?
So we are a one segment company, so we don't really split our number by business stream, and that's why I'm not like to comment on this question as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bharat Gupta, please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Sir, a question pertains to with respect to the policy formation. I think GMB will be deciding the policy for both Mundra and for Pipavav, if my understanding is correct.
Not only for Mundra and Pipavav, but all private ports in the state of Gujarat.
And sir, due to the election year, I think this has been getting postponed. So are we expecting that the policies will likely to be implemented by the end of this year?
We do expect, but I mean, again, it's not for me to comment. As I said, I mean, we have heard no red flags. We have not seen any red flags in my discussions with relevant authorities. But I mean, the commentary has to be really coming from the government of Gujarat. But you are right. The delay is on account of elections and the code of conduct that got. The election code of conduct, but hopefully we do expect that within this year, our expectation certainly is that within this year, the policy document will be coming out.
Right, sir. I think because of this deferment, I think we are holding on some of our capex plan. I think liquid jetty we have already been commissioned. We will be commissioning, but is there any other plan which we have in mind, like for developing our port?
So it will depend on many things, but as I said, I mean it's too early to say this, but you should be aware that we signed an MOU with GMB and Government of Gujarat in Vibrant Gujarat Summit this January, stating that we would like to invest about 30 to 100 crores.
Right. That's really helpful, sir. Helpful, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Continue, you can go ahead, please.
Yeah, hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. So just one question. I mean, I'm just trying to comprehend your decision on, doing away with coal at a time when coal imports are expected to be a bit on the higher side. So just trying to get, what is the thought process here? Is a focus on profitability? What is driving this? And in the same context, if you can give some kind of color on, where the dry bulk volumes can stabilize, or maybe what's the kind of number we can look at for FY 25-26?
Yeah, so we are expecting an FY20, I mean, this financial year, dry bulk numbers to be in similar range or slightly higher than what we have done, in this financial year. In terms of coal, as we said, that we're working on certain operational improvements in our yard space. Once that is completed, we'll get back to the trade and restart. And I do think over the next 3 to 4 months, we should be in a position to kind of come back to the trade to say, where are we on this?
Understood, sir. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you. Mohit, you have your hand raised. Do you have any further questions? Mr. Vilajan, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Just wanted to get an outlook or maybe sort of a volume guidance on how are we looking at the container volumes for FY25.
So it's difficult to give a complete guidance, honestly, on container, because there's just too many things that are happening at this point in time. Maybe, if you're all okay, we'll come back to this question in the next analyst call. We should have a little bit more clarity.
No worries. And secondly, if I heard it correctly, you mentioned that the liquid cargo you're expecting around 1.4 million for this fiscal. So again, that comes to almost like a 10% sort of a growth for the current year. I remember us talking about 20% plus sort of a growth for at least like the next couple of years in the past one or two quarter calls.
We
So
have not.
any
No.
specific
It
reason
must
for
be a
the
mistake.
lowering of guidance?
No,
Yeah.
must be a mistake somewhere. Our capacity we have always maintained is in the region of 1.3 to 1.4. We can't go beyond that.
Right.
I mean, it's just a slight up and down basis the mix of the cargo that we expect. As I was just explaining, I mean, if the HSD POL volumes goes up, then the capacity will go up a little bit. If LPG, I mean, if a bitumen or a butadiene comes up, then it goes down. So, but we are broadly at capacity. So there's not too much beyond this until and unless we commission the new jetty.
But our rated capacity is around 2 million, on
Yeah,
which you
that's
said
based
you can
on
do, depending on the mix, around
depending on the
1.4 is what.
I mean, just as
Got
an
it.
example, right? If you look at a POL HSD kind of a cargo, the throughput is 650, 700 versus a LPG, which is 300-ish, versus a bitumen, which is 80 to 100-ish, right? So, I mean, the throughput defines the final capacity, right?
Got it. Yeah. Thank you so much for answering my questions.
Thank you. Priyanka, you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. So just on the Roro side of things, can you just share something on the outlook on this side of the business? Seems like the auto exports are significantly going up. So how do you see this business, let's say, in FY25 and let's say in a 2-3 year horizon? And I know you don't disclose the numbers, but can you give us a sense of its profitability in the sense if you have to rank, let's say, containers, liquids, and where does Roro exactly stand?
In terms of volume outlook, yeah, right. I think we expect significant export growth over the, let's say, next 5 to 7 years. We are already growing. You've seen, our numbers in terms of growth on the Roro side. We expect Roro to continue to grow in our port. I think the coming financial year, we expect numbers anywhere ranging between 150,000 to 175,000 cars.
Pardon, how much did you say? 175,000 cars.
150 to 175,000 cars.
Okay. And just again, coming back to this, let's say the Roro question itself, is it a meaningful part of our revenue now? I mean, like for us to factoring it if you can give a broad percentage types.
I don't know what is your definition of meaningful, but it's certainly very much meaningful. But it's very much meaningful for us. Yeah, but
No. So is it like 5% or something? Broad range, maybe.
So roughly around 10% on the revenue. And as I mentioned earlier, right? So both liquid and Roro are a high margin business for us. We operate on a landlord model, and that's why we are very much keen on both these business streams.
Okay. So essentially, let's say the liquids and Roro, if my understanding is correct, would be like similar margins broadly.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Roro and LPG would be similar margins broadly?
Yeah.
Okay, that should do for me.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up questions from you, Pandya? You have a hand raised?
No, sir, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Vipul Kumar, you have any follow-up questions? You have your hand raised. Doesn't seem to be the case. Mohit, anything from you? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Again, I would like to reiterate, we had a very, very strong year. We will hope to continue the strong performance as we move forward. I think things are really looking up in certain sectors for us. We are also aggressively working on expansion of our services, and I look forward to talking to you next quarter results. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day.